So, hey everyone, welcome to Authors Interview session of Carolyn Penn Publishing. This is Avisha, and today we have a really very special guest with us. That is Sakshi. Hi, Sakshi.
Hi, Avisha. How are you?
I'm doing great. How's you?
I'm also doing perfectly good. I'm doing perfectly fine.
I was really very excited to talk to you about your journey and everything. And I guess many people were actually about to talk to you about that. So I just thought कि कुछ ऐसे questions, there are so many questions which are being asked or people want to ask from you. And first of all, I would like you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. My name is Sakshi Nelson, and I am actually from Uttarakhand, Dehradun, and that is where I was born and brought up, and my entire education was done over there. And then after a few years, I migrated to Maharashtra. So currently, I reside in Maharashtra, and I am the author of 3 books. My first book being Likeness and Reflections, which is about the spiritual awakening. The second book is an anthology. It's called Beyond Words. And the third is Beauty in Brokenness, which is just recently launched and released on public platforms.
Yeah. Okay. That's really very great. And okay, so after that, the very first question from you is, of course, how you started all this and how do you realize, when did you realize that you want to be a writer or author or about all these books?
Actually, I always loved writing. I loved writing from a very young age, but to bring it into to books and to write it into a book, it is a whole new level. And I loved writing, but I never thought that I would ever publish a book. So the journey of writing started at a very early age. I would have small bits and notes of pieces of papers. You have those little bits of papers in between your diaries or notebooks where you could write your personal stuff as a teenager. But then with growing times, when I realized that yes, I could do much better. I started writing my own journals, and that is how exactly the entire journey started. And when I read out my readings or my writings to my friends, so they really liked it, and they encouraged me to to put it into a book and so forth. So that is how the journey started of writing. Yes.
Okay, so as you told that when you started writing, there were so many people who were appreciating you for that. So I would like to ask from you that how people firstly reacted when you actually published your first book, because publishing a book is a really very big thing, especially for people like me, because everyone can't write or can't be consistent, because for writing a book you have to be consistent, dedicated throughout.
Absolutely.
So I would to know the people's reaction. How did they reacted to it?
uh, Many people were amazed, many people were shocked, to be very honest, because it was not expected from many, but it was a surprise for me as well. But as you spoke, consistency, it is something that I made up my mind. And as you know, last year has been the year 2020 was all a lockdown period, when we were shut up inside the rooms and there was nothing much to do. And that is exactly when I started writing my first book. And it is not that happened just overnight. It Like I said, the first book that I wrote is based on spirituality. It is more of my personal journey. And since I'm a spiritual person, so it came a long way through. And it was the feelings, embossed in my mind, or it was my personal experiences that I have put forth in book. So when you are basically, when you're quiet, when you're alone, all those things, it's more like nostalgic moments that come back to your mind. So that is exactly when I started writing my first book. And And that is when I had a great team called Caroling Pen Publishing, when they actually made my journey come true. And the team was very supportive, and they helped me publish my first book. Though I was an alien to everything, I did not know anything, so they guided me through, and they helped me publish my first book. Yes.
So, as you talked about the great experience with Carolyn Pen Publishing, we'll ask more about that later. But as you said that it was all a very good experience, but there also come one thing, and that is how do you schedule the things? Because there we have to maintain a balance between our professional life and our passion as well. So how do you maintain that? And as you are a mother too, then I guess there are so many things to be managed. So how do you manage the things?
Yes, this is very apt question. It is actually very challenging to be consistent at this point of time. I am a mother to a 4-year-old, and you can imagine how my day goes by. And there is no particular schedule for me personally. It works different for different authors. Some people, would just sit for hours and hours, and they would get the writing done. But for me, it is something. It is something which happens all of a sudden. For example, if I am doing normal chores of the day and something pops in my head, so I would stop my work, write it somewhere down. I have a journal, or I would text, or I would write it, or I would, I don't really sit down to write something. Of course, there are times when you have to bring together your work, you have to compile it and bring it into a proper format. So as far as schedule is concerned, the it would be right to say that I don't sit for long hours to write anything. That has not been my pattern personally. And so it's probably I'll write for an hour, and then I'll get up and do something else, and then again more fresh ideas would come. Maybe when I go for a walk, something pops in my head, I come back and write it. So that's how, I fill in the gaps. So that's how I work, in between looking after my daughter, in between doing the chores of the house. So it's just like that.
I
Yes.
guess this is the biggest job ever, that you have to make balance between 3 to 4 things, and that too at the same time. Okay, so the next question is, I guess this is one of the most asked questions. How long did it take to write a book? Because I also think it will be months or maybe days according to your capability. But still, how long did it take to write your book, which you?
Talking about my first book, Likeness and Reflections, as I said, it took around, I think, 5 to 6 months, because that was the period when the pandemic had begun, right from March till almost the end of October or November. And in between, yes, the process was going on. But yes, I think it took for me 4 to 5 months, because the first book was more of personal, it was more of a spiritual book. So it was my journey that I put forth in that book. As far as my second book is concerned, the one that is recently launched, Beauty in Brokenness, it is it is about the experiences not only that I shared, it is about the experiences what other people share. It talks about broken moments of people. So it is about experiences. And that book also, think it took me around 3 months, 3 to 4 months to bring that book together, because it's not easy, to put forth the feelings. Because the most important thing for me when I write, it is to connect with the readers. What I feel when my readers are reading it, they should be able to feel that as well. So you have to be so particular in what words you are using. You have to use sensitive words. You have to use empathetic words to sort of bring all that into flow, to bring all that together. It takes a bit time. And yes, a lot of feelings are also involved in putting a book together. So for me to put a basic book, it's not a very thick book. It's a minimum of 100 pages book that I have written, which is easy to read and easy to relate. So I think it took me around almost 3 to 4 months for both the books to bring it forth together and get it published.
Okay, I guess this whole journey sounds really great, and especially to those who are somewhat commencing to enter to this world of writing and books and publishing. Because there is also one question that is asked from one of my known one. So that person asked that how do you get those ideas, or particularly information ideas, whatever you can say that, but how do you put those things into your words, and what is the whole process?
See, writing a book is not a one man show. Okay. If I write a book and just let it be, somebody has to be there to to move the second step ahead, to move it forward. So a team, it's more like a teamwork. When you write a book, I write the book, you publish it for me, somebody designs the content, somebody does something. There's a whole lot of there's a group, there is a team that goes forth into putting a book together. As far as ideas and information is concerned, the information is, of course, from my end, what I feel like putting forth in my book, as long as it does not hurt somebody's sentiments. Those informations have to be, put together in the book. And as far as ideas and contents and materialistic things are required in putting a book together, I think the major role for that is the role of publishers over here. They have the marketing strategies, the covers for the book, and the designing of the book. So a lot goes into putting a book together. There are meetings, and then you have to get together with the team. Do you like the picture? Do you like the script? Do you like the design? Do you like the cover? A lot goes into putting a book together. So it is not a one man show. It is not only my effort, it is the effort of the writer, as well as the author, as well as the publisher, the designer, and everyone. So it's not a one man show. It's a teamwork.
Okay. So the next question is that what do you like to do when you are not actually writing? I have gone through your Insta page as well, and there I saw that your little cute baby, and I wanted to know about that too. And this is the question which somewhat I added up to know about how you manage. Of course, you, as you told me that you manage and you somewhat work with all the things, but when it comes to a child, a kid, then how important and how crucial it is to take all the things together.
It sometimes becomes very it does become very hectic. I will not deny it, and I will not fake it up. It does become very hectic. It does become very annoying sometimes, because sometimes you really want to write something, and your idea is popping up your head, and you simply want to type it down. But then your child comes along, or maybe she's hungry, or maybe she wants to go to play, or maybe she wants to do other stuff. Oh mama, come in, let's play with me, or let's do this. So yes, things do get jumbled up. But in my other spare time, whenever I do, when I'm not writing, and when I actually am free, then also I devote my time. If my daughter is occupied, supposingly she's resting, or she's busy in her own class, or her studies, or things like that, then also I involve myself in writing. I read the works of other people. I do follow other writers as well. I do follow other authors as well, and I learn their marketing strategies, their tips, and their writing standards, and so many things. As I'm also a beginner, I need to learn so much. So you can learn so much from the authors who are already well established in the market, in the industry of writing. And nowadays writing has taken a huge leap in terms of, in the market, in people. And people have started becoming so vocal about their feelings and thoughts. And whether it's a book or if it's no book, many people have Instagram pages and Facebook pages and Twitter accounts where they, are just so expressive. So it's great to read, especially budding and new and youthful authors, who are so enthusiastic about expression. So understanding expressionism is also something that I'm really fond of, because like I said, if somebody's reading my work, I'm also reading somebody's work. So am I able to connect to those writings? Do I get, or what do I understand? So yes, those are the things that I do also in my spare time.
Okay, so I guess I'm also learning a lot from you. As particularly if I talk about myself, so currently due to lockdown, everyone is stuck in their home. They are working from home. So there is not a lot of exposure or something, but still people are somewhat at home and working from home, क्योंकि इस टाइम पे बहुत मुश्किल है when corona is like spreading all over again and again. So it's like second wave or third wave आने वाली है, and we are all like कि नहीं अब नहीं हो पाएगा. So at this point of time, I feel that every information should go to the people who are actually seeking for that. So of course, the next question is regarding that. What does make a good story? How do you define it? Because many writers, many budding artists are in I would say that they go for it, that they are seeking for it, that how shall we define a good story?
Every story is a good story. Your story can be good, my story can be good, as long as the story is authentic. And like I just said in the previous question that you asked me, people have learned how to be very vocal and very expressive. So as far as good story is concerned, everybody's sharing their part of story, whether it's a happy story, whether it's a sad story, whether it's a emotional story. So you don't a good story does not come in a thick fat book. That is not a good story. Can be a 2-line verse that I read on an Instagram just 2 days ago, maybe just in the evening. So what is a story? A story is something that is put forth in the form of expressionism. It can be in fiction, it can be a non-fiction. It all depends on the author, how to bring that expressionism and to connect it to its reader. It's just like movies, the movies can have the best of stories, but if the audience does not connect or does not relate to the story, the movie goes flop. So similarly, it's like with books. So you can use the best of vocabulary, best of words, and the best of publishers, and the best of pictures, and all those things, and the best of marketing. And but if the reader does not relate to what you've written, then I don't think so there's any point. But nowadays, as I mentioned earlier, people have learned how to be expressive, and people are really good with words. And they are really good in expressing their part. For example, my book, Beauty in Brokenness, that is just recently, it talks about my broken moments. And I'm sure my book even says that I'm sure you will find yourself in one of these lines that I have written, because it is a journey that everyone goes through. So everybody has a story to share. Maybe not the entire book might relate to a reader, but maybe 2 lines from my book might relate to the reader. So that for me is a good story, because my reader was able to connect to me through my book, through my words. So that is a good story for me. Similarly, vice versa. If I read somebody's work, maybe the whole book, or maybe just 2 lines, or maybe a paragraph, or maybe a stanza, or anything, it just connects to me. So it's more about connection. That is, I think, where the story lies. It's all about connection.
Okay, then I guess I can also write something. Actually, which can, because particularly for me, writing is not a big deal. I used to write someday, but um, connecting with people, as you said, is a really very big thing. And I guess that is the only reason why people are expressing, because somewhat they are connecting to each other, and they somewhat relate with each other, that yes, the same incident happened with someone else,
Yes.
and they can truly relate. it.
Exactly.
Okay, so get back to the same question as you were answering in the starting itself, that how was your experience with Carolyn Penn Publishing, because it's your second book, I guess. So I would like to know about the whole experience and how was it and how you enjoyed. And as you said, you were so nervous and you were not knowing about how to publish and all. So I would like to know the whole experience.
Well, Caroling Pen Publishing has been a very supportive team in terms of bringing my dreams come true. Because first of all, it's a very enthusiastic team, because it's a group of youngsters, and they all are enthusiastic. So even if I forget something about my book, there would be a nudge. What do we do about the book? What do we do about the promotion? What do we do about? So they share that level of excitement with you, with the authors. And my experience has been great with them. They have been very supportive and very patient, and like, it's only my second book, but still I'm learning a lot. um, uh, Even when it was the first book, everything was alien to me. I hardly understood how things work. So I told the team, see, my job is to write. You tell me the other things, how the things fall into place, how the good book goes into the market, what goes into, floating the book into the market. And so they were very patient and very supportive of how to, bring things into, actually bring it into uh, light. And people started noticing my work, and people started noticing my book. And the experience overall has been great and fantastic with them.
Okay. Okay, so the very last question, and not a question, I would like you to give a message to the budding writers who are actually starting to write. And of course, I would also like to know how can we start writing a book or something, or what things we should keep in mind while starting of writing.
That's a very I'm myself a beginner, but since you asked, for budding authors, I can say just one thing, that when you are writing a book, you need to open up your heart, but at the same time, you need to be empathetic. Okay. And uh, you need to be very honest with your writings. You cannot fake it up, or you cannot make it up. The moment you start making or faking things up, people notice. A good reader will notice, because there are people who love to write, but then there are also people who love to just read. Uh, I have my Instagram account where it is full of reviewers, and the number of reviewers and their reviews that I read, they are so elaborate. They notice the minor and the most petty things. So my message to a budding author would be to be very honest with your writings, with your words, and with your expressionisms. You can just let your heart out. It's all about feelings, it's all about emotions. And especially if it's a work of non-fiction. However, if people are more interested in fiction, then of course you make things up, you create characters that are imaginary. But then that is another thing. I am not much into fiction, so I don't know how the expressionism goes there. But as far as I am concerned, my work is mostly of non-fiction. So it is more of personal for me when I write books. So for me, and my message to the budding authors would be to just let your heart out, and trust your writings. It might not take a peak, or it might not take a flight just immediately after you write. It takes time to set your image, and it takes time to float yourself in the market, to make yourself known in the market. And yeah, just pretty much that. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, okay. So I am really feeling very grateful to talk to you right now, because I also have a lot of doubts. Because interviews, authors interviews, especially, people do ask questions to me that, okay, ask this question also, how do they manage and everything. So I guess many will get help through this interview. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you
Pleasure
so
is
much.
all mine. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And thank you to Caroling Pen Publishing and to you, Avisha, for taking such a wonderful interview.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.